So look, it has been less than a week since the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And I'm not sure that I have seen a crazier roller coaster in quite some time, because the Direct itself, in my opinion, was phenomenal. I thought the Direct was a huge home run for them. You know, they introduced Mario Kart World, which is the follow-up to the best-selling Nintendo game ever, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It looks great. It's an open-world Mario Kart. Everybody loved it. They had a ton of third-party titles. They introduced a new Donkey Kong game. They have a FromSoft exclusive. Everything was working with this Direct, and it was awesome. Now, I did notice, not that I really cared in the moment, but I noticed, like, they're not mentioning the price, but I really didn't care. I assumed it was going to be between $400 and $500 anyway. But they should have announced the price at the end of the Direct, but they chose not to. And then the internet gets a hold of the prices on their website, and all hell breaks loose after that. All hell breaks loose once the prices drop. Now, as I have consistently said, and people can get mad, people can whatever, I personally don't have a problem with the price. I've said it 1,000 times. Like, I'm not saying it's not, they should explain it to people that want to understand it, but I'm going to put, I just looked it up. I have over 2,000 hours in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's just on the Switch. So I probably have another.
How many hours?
2,000. Now, I probably have about another 1,000 on Mario Kart 8 from the Wii U. And that's over 10 years. I just went to see the fucking Minecraft movie, and you go pay a ticket for fucking Minecraft, or you could pay a ticket for, you pay for a ticket to a movie and buy food. You're damn near at $80 fucking already just right there. Yeah. So if I'm going to spend $80 for something, I'm going to get 2,000 hours of entertainment, plus I'm going to stream it, all of that. With that said, it doesn't really matter what I think, because the people are pissed and the people want answers. And Nintendo is solely responsible for this disaster, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys' opinions are. Do you guys think Nintendo is solely responsible for this disaster that they have placed upon themselves?
I think they made it worse. Real quick, I think they made it worse, but I think people would complain anyway.
Well, wasn't everybody saying $400 anyways? So it's $50 more.
$400 or $500 is what everybody was predicting. It's really about the. It's really about the shift to get Mario Kart to 80, because it's not isolated to Mario Kart. By the way, the outrage is not isolated to Mario Kart. Mario Kart is the focus, but the outrage is because the industry will shift and the industry will adapt. That's the argument, which is a valid argument. So this is why people are mad about it. So there's one reason is, like, you go from 60 to 80. What's the justification for this? The fact that you hid it from us, and then it's shifting the industry to where all games are going to become a higher price. And then GTA is probably going to be $120 fucking when it's all said and done. These are the arguments people are making, and they're very, very valid arguments.
Yeah, I think there's a few different ways to look at this, and there's also several reasons why people are upset. And I think it's more of the cost of the Switch 2 next-gen games itself rather than the console. It's the $80 or $90 price tag on Mario Kart 2. So there's a few different ways to look at this. You can adjust for inflation and make the argument for previous games and what games cost in the 80s and 90s and 2000s, and adjust for inflation and see where that lies with this. Also, games since the PlayStation 2 from generations have, you know, gradually increased in price as far as production, graphics, how many hours of storytelling or gameplay that you're going to get. It costs. Yeah, right. The cost of, you know, development and everything. And then also, you have to also realize that for the past 3 to 5 years, games have been $60 or $70, but to get the full complete experience for these AAA games, they include the deluxe edition with extra missions, with extra skins, with extra upgrades off rip, where you can earn those upgrades in game, or you can pay $10, $20 and you can get skins, the DLC, and those extra upgrades off rip, and you get to use those at the very beginning of the game. So now the $70 game all of a sudden costs $100, and we've all done it. We've all done it. And you can even take the most extreme, egregious example we have has been Star Wars Outlaws. And I have beat this horse dead for the past several months talking about this, but I'll say it again. With Star Wars Outlaws getting the extra Jabba the Hutt, the Jabba's palace, fighting a Rancor, like all that stuff for Star Wars Outlaws. After paying all that up front, you're paying $130 for the game, which is egregious for that game. Now, for other games, you might be able to make an excuse of why it makes sense. With Mario Kart World, people are looking at, okay, this is going to be a $90 game for Mario Kart. Kart.
By the way, it's 80. So 90 was never the case.
That was misinformation.
That was misinformation. Okay, so I thought it was 84 digital.
No,
so basically it was one viral post from like a retailer overseas. We'll blame Brazil since Stan's here. So it's like a Brazilian real retailer that said $80 for digital, 90 for physical. That hasn't been posted anywhere else, and it's pretty widely believed now that 90 was just inaccurate. Donkey Kong should be 70.
It was a Euro number.
Yeah. Well, Donkey Kong should be 70. Mario Kart's expected to be 80. And that's, from my understanding, that's the only game that's going to be 80. And then I'll have this in my points a little bit, but Nintendo has at least said that there is a reason that it's going to be more for Mario Kart specifically, and we might find that out.
Gotcha. And just to finish my statement real quick is I think a lot of people are worried that Nintendo is setting the standard for games going forward, and they're worried, and they're taking Grand Theft Auto as the main case of point. Is how much is Grand Theft Auto going to be for the grand scale of Grand Theft Auto, and for what Mario Kart World is going to offer compared to Grand Theft Auto, which is going to be several thousand hours worth of gameplay, including the online, which is going to attribute to that, and plus what Rockstar is going to do with their online and all those packages and the microtransactions and everything. How much is Rockstar going to charge for GTA 6? Is it going to be, because we heard months ago that they wanted to maybe introduce that $100 price tag for Grand Theft Auto 6. Now Mario Kart's $80. Is Grand Theft Auto going to be $100, $120, $130, $150? I think that's why people are outraged.
No shot. Yeah. I think, look, you got to look at it like this. This is how I've always viewed, and it's important that we remember something very specific right now. We're talking about an entertainment item. This is a luxury item. This is not a basic human right. We're talking about, they can set the price at whatever the hell they want to set it at. That's the bottom line. I understand that there's an industry standard, okay? And that's been going on for a while. But the way I look at video games is how much entertainment are you going to get out of it, okay? So I took a wing and a prayer on something like Elden Ring. Easily would have paid $80 for a game like Elden Ring all day. But the problem is, over the past however many years that we've been gaming, there have been very few games that have come out for me that are worth that $65, $70 price point. Yeah. And so I think we're all super jaded when it comes to that. Now, the biggest problem for me, and something that they're not addressing, and I think this is the most important, is the removal of the physical copy. That's an argument that I'm willing to die on. I'm willing to die on the hill that if I'm going to buy a game for you and it's going to be that much money, I better own that shit. And what scares me about these non-physical electronic trade cards,
a lot of that's been debunked. A lot of that's been debunked too.
Okay, so if these are still 100% accessible while not on the internet, I feel better about it, but at the same time, I still have an issue.
I think X-Wing is also talking about like Steam and PC game purchases.
Yeah.
In general, right?
Well, that's the thing is, like, a lot of the things that people are upset about, and again, I think everybody's aware. I'm not defending Nintendo because they're the reason all this is happening, but Xbox and PlayStation's and Steam do this. This is what they do.
100%.
This is not like, this is not anything different than what we've experienced in all of these others. With that said, Nintendo fans are a different breed, and they're used to a different standard from Nintendo, and that's why a lot of this outrage is happening. So I just think that needs to be noted. Go ahead, Johnny.
I mean,
hold on. It was my point. I got one more
thing to say. Sorry.
I got one more thing to say, and I said this in my video, and I think it's really important, especially when it pertains to Nintendo games. You know what you're getting with a Nintendo game. That's the most important thing. Like I said, I took a gamble on a FromSoft game, found a developer that I love, and now they've got a customer basically for life from FromSoft. Nintendo, I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm not going to get sold something after I'm sold the game. There's no agenda in there. This is just going to be a fun game that I can play with my friends, and I know I'm going to get a shitload of replayability and a really fun game out of a Nintendo game. So for me, that's worth it. $80, take my money.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, and I've said it ourselves, the market's going to determine the market. If this hurts Nintendo, then so be it. They are not like immune from failure. The Wii U happened not too long ago. Do I think that this is going to be another Wii U? Not necessarily, but I do see that their arrogance right now is a little similar to where it was with the Wii U. They're operating like, we don't have to worry about this. Yeah, you do. You do have to worry about this. And Nintendo's arrogance is the reason the Wii U failed. And their arrogance right now is why there's so much negativity. When you have a Mario Kart World live stream and your entire chat is just saying drop the price and nobody is talking about the game and nobody's showing excitement for the game, you have got a PR disaster on your hands. And it's up to them to fix it. And their arrogance is not allowing them to fix it.
With Nintendo, they've kind of done this to themselves. They, like we said, they do their own thing. They have their own community. But Nintendo has always been like kind of this special little darling that we kind of like let do certain things. Like they like a lot of times they don't have a lot of deals, or games are still full price. They don't ever drop the price on games over time, things like that. So we kind of just let them get away with a lot of that stuff. Upping the price in this game also with a console that we know in 5 years time is going to be considered obsolete compared to all the other consoles. I mean, we've been dealing with this for years.
It's going to be obsolete off rip.
Like a lot of these,
it's already there.
It's just now catching up to what we all expected it to catch up to, and that's using other people's technology to make it that way. Like, so the other thing is we're paying for a game that's like a console and a half behind everybody else, and that's how it's always been with them. They're literally bragging about the fact that now you can play Breath of the Wild at like 4K 60 frames a second. I was like, I have a computer and I could have done that with an emulator 2 years ago. Like, what are you talking about? So the fact is, like, what are we paying extra for? And the other issue is that, and X-Wing brought this up, like with the FromSoft is an exception. They don't do a lot of DLC. Their games are typically off from the get-go, completely playable. The other thing is with Star Wars Outlaws and all these other fucking games, there is no way that GTA 6 is not going to be glitchy as shit day one, even with a day one patch. That is what we've always had to deal with. So the thing is, if you're gonna complain and be like, well, games are harder to make and they cost more to make nowadays and stuff, then finish your fucking games. Give us a reason to say, you know what, man, these guys came out the gate swinging. I will use this example until like the day I die. Baldur's Gate 3 came out ready to go. Yes, it was an early access, but they didn't have to do that. They could have just released the game when they were ready, and it could have been ready to go. It didn't have a bunch of game-breaking glitches in it. And since the game has come out, it has been every patch has been quality of life patches. It has been response to the audience. That's how you're supposed to do it. Well, we've made our game better for you guys, not, oh, we're just making it so that it's now fucking playable. Same with fucking Assassin's Creed Shadows. If you want to make a big deal and act all high and mighty, talk about Japanese culture, non-binary people, make a fucking game that works. Let your work speak for itself, but you can't even release a game that isn't buggy as shit. You're not trying to represent anybody. So I don't know, man. It's just, to me, Nintendo being behind the 8 ball when it comes to hardware and bragging about some of these features that we were just saying, man, it'd be nice if this fucking Switch just was a nice upgrade to the Switch, which is not the grace we would give any other console. Can you imagine if like PlayStation was like, PlayStation 7 drops tomorrow and this is as good as the PlayStation 4? We'd be like, fuck that. Like, I'm not buying that stupid thing.
And so real quick, one last point I didn't make is with the outrage and why people are so upset on Twitter. I think is because they feel like Nintendo wasn't being entirely honest with them in their direct with the fact that they didn't tell you themselves the price.
That's a major factor.
And they inadvertently were dishonest by going to the website. Now you see the price. You didn't hear you didn't hear it from the horse's mouth what the price was. You had to go to the website and check it out, and that's why people are pissed.
100%. I do want to follow back up.
I would call that dishonest. I think that's
inadvertently.
It's shady.
Yeah,
it's very shady. It's manipulative behavior. And if you watch the Switch 1 reveal, they were very transparent with everything. Why? Because they had to be, because they were coming off of the failure of the Wii U. So therefore, they felt like we need to be as upfront and honest as we possibly can. Now, coming off of the massive success of the Switch, suddenly, we don't have to be as transparent. We're operating on a different level. It's arrogance.
And you know what else it tells me? It tells me that they were worried that they were already going to get backlash from it.
And then on top of that, something worse was the buy our $10 game introduction to the Switch 2 on release tour that they had. I think that rubbed a lot
your
of
tech
people the
demo
wrong
game?
way. Yeah.
Buy our tech demo for the Switch, but we're going to charge you for it.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, that was ridiculous. All right,
Sorry,
go ahead, Johnny.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's just, I mean, Nintendo's forever has been known as like the budget company, but they've done this historically, like many times before, where Nintendo just gets overconfident. Like you mentioned, the Wii to the Wii U. I would also say the Nintendo 64 to the Nintendo GameCube, because that was losing the console wars. That was in third place. We don't need a DVD player. We don't need to play CDs. We don't need to keep up with graphics. We don't need to, you guys will just buy it and eat it up. They got overconfident. And their confidence was like insane this one, because now they're like, whoa, now we got our first party games and we got like the graphics to kind of hang, and we're even going to show you a Donkey Kong game to close things. We don't even need Mario. We don't even need Zelda. We're going to close it with Donkey Kong, and y'all are going to eat it up. And people just weren't having it. But I'm proud of the gaming community. I'm proud of people drawing a line in the sand, because getting priced out of a hobby can absolutely happen. As someone who is a card collector and who doesn't collect trading cards anymore for the most part, like, how expensive are Pokemon cards now? How expensive are like basketball cards now? Like, I don't even bother now, because I look at the price of individual packs and you get like 4 cards. I'm just like, to me, this ain't worth it anymore. But I used to buy boxes and boxes. It was great.
Doug
Gaming's going.
Doug Bowser's calling. Hello? Okay. He says, Johnny, stop being poor, bitch.
Well, see, that's the one other thing. One other thing. I know I'm going to get the console. You're going to get the console. And people are going to say, oh, well, you're just going to eat it up and pay for it anyway.
Yeah.
Yes and no, because I'll get Mario Kart and I'll get Metroid Prime 4. After that, I'm not touching a Donkey Kong game for that price. I'm not touching Kirby Air Riders. I'm not touching, like, I'm sorry, like any game that, like, my brother loves Hollow Knight, tells me I need to play Silk Song. I'm not paying.
It's going to be on the Switch.
I've never played before.
It's going to be on the Switch.
Price? Yeah.
Silk Song will be on the Switch.
Okay, so that one is an exception, but you get the point I'm making.
Yep.
Any game that comes out for the Switch 2 that I'm not absolutely head over heels for, like for $50, $60, I'd buy that game. I'd try it out. But for $70, $80, nah, man. Like, I'm not going to put that kind of investment in games that I'm not absolutely hyped about.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, like, guess what? If for anybody, because I mean, I've heard people say like, "Oh, I can't believe you're going to get the Switch," while they're typing it from their fucking iPhone. Yeah. Go ahead and stand on a soapbox with your fucking iPhone and tell me, like, get out of here with that shit.
But what does that mean, Jeremy? Should we pay out the ass for everything because we have one expensive item? Like, we got to make a stand somewhere, right?
No. What it says is that you spend your money how you want to spend your money, and I spend mine how I want to spend it.
Fair
but
enough.
once you start determining what other people can do, you're opening Pandora's box. Because anybody that tells me to not buy a Switch, then don't buy a fucking Apple product, because fuck Apple straight to hell where they belong.
The problem is telling people what they can do with their stuff. If you want to boycott something, fucking boycott it and tell everybody why you're boycotting it so they can go, I agree with you, I'm going to do the same. But you start getting mad at everybody else.
Then harass and bully people online.
Yeah, you're screaming at people. Well, you buy this or you buy that. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm not buying a Switch because it's not called a Super Switch. I don't get it. There's no moral aspect.
That's reason enough. He didn't need to know about the price.
Wait, he didn't care about.
Mike
doesn't
care about
any
of
the prices. I don't care about the day one price. None of that shit.
Switch 2,
the console's
fuck
broken
that.
as fuck. They didn't call it the Super Switch, and I'm petty as fuck. And now
Real
to
quick.
know that they almost called it that makes me even more mad.
Epic Mike, I'm gonna 3D print you a Super Switch 2 dock.
That'd be
It
dope.
won't be the same.
We've had our moment right here. if we all remember the Xbox One, we all remember that moment. Well, Doug Bowser, Nintendo of America president, he's basically said something that feels very similar to what our boy Don here had to say with the Xbox One, if you all remember how much of a disaster that was. So I'm not sure how this is going to go over. Nintendo says it understands that some consumers won't be able to afford the Switch 2, which is why they're still making Switch 1 available. Ooh.
Basically just said, yeah, you broke.
Yeah,
all right,
man.
brokies.
Sorry, Pores, buy our old console.
If you actually read the statement, it's not as bad as it sounds.
I don't understand the commotion, sincerely.
It's optics, man. It's really like, do you know what happened with the Xbox One?
I don't remember.
So the Xbox One, they came out and basically said, because it was always online and all these other things, basically saying like, if you can't get an Xbox One, that's why they had the Xbox 360.
And it was after the presentation had fell apart, because the Xbox One came out and essentially, they basically were like, well, hey, this is a video game console, and guess what you can do on this video game console? You can watch Netflix, you can watch Blu-rays, you can watch DVDs, you can watch. Nothing was about fucking video games.
They had the thing where it's like you could have the movie playing on the side while you're surfing the web in the middle. It's like, this is a fucking video game console. Nobody's here for that. It was just a total disaster.
It was a disaster, and then this interview happened right here.
It's a great line for games. Yeah, and I think people are going to love it, and then they're going to understand what we're trying to create and how it links games and entertainment, the functionality of the box, some of the advantages that you get of having a box that is designed to use an online state. So that, to me, is a future-proof choice, and I think people could have arguably gone the other way if we didn't do it, and fortunately we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360. That's your message. If you don't, like it.
If you have zero access to the internet, that is an offline device. I mean,
You had to walk that back a little bit.
Bad. This was
That was
so
good
bad.
pushback, though.
I like it. So
bad.
just stick to Xbox 360.
Stick with 360. That's your message. If you don't, like
if
it.
you have zero access to the internet, that is an offline device. I mean, seriously, when I read the blogs and thought about who's really the most impacted, there was a person who said, hey, I'm on a nuclear sub.
Right.
And I don't even know what it means to be on a nuclear sub, but I've got to imagine that it's not easy to get an internet connection.
Watching that live was crazy,
when Regis says, "Is that your final answer?" and the dude starts sweating profusely, it's bad. You know.
Yeah.
So
So
fucked up.
he says, right
Glittering
here.
and
Where's it at right here? So the quote doesn't sound as bad as the headlines make it sound. But it says, as we look at the Nintendo Switch 2 and you think about the features sets that I talked about, we believe that the pricing is appropriate for the value of the machine and the gameplay experience overall. We recognize there are some people that may not be able to afford the Switch 2's price point. That's why we want to make the other Switch platforms available so people still have an opportunity to come into our gaming universe, be part of these characters in these worlds, and see value. If you will, and in whatever rung of the platform they come in on. So it doesn't sound as bad as the headlines make it sound, but it's still like when you look at the history of the failure of the Xbox One, it's very reminiscent of that. It's very reminiscent, and it's
Also,
it's the added of all of the other stuff that's going on right now. There's so many problems with them.
So is it really going to hurt them in the sales or not? It seems like our own panel is pretty split on it. I think it's going to be bad for them. I think it's going to be disastrous.
I hope it's
they'll make
bad.
a price drop and then it'll bounce back.
that thing is
Okay,
going to
so-
sell out
okay, so-
faster than you can freaking blink.
Okay,
bro.
well that's a good panel question for everybody. Not if you're getting it. Who cares about us as individuals? Do you think that they are going to suffer because of all of the controversy?
No.
Weirdo go.
No, I do not.
X-Wing.
Absolutely not. Sells out like first day.
Johnny.
Yes, I think it will, but it depends on what your standard is. If my standard is it's going to sell as well as the Switch 1, or is it like going to sell out because they don't have enough copies? I'm talking about its legs, and I just don't think it's going to sell anywhere close to the Switch 1.
Okay. Dan?
I don't know, man. I vote no. I don't know. It's hard to give
decision.
a yes. It's hard to give a yes or no question, but I can say that I'm very curious to observe if the commotion will translate to numbers.
Mike?
No, because they've been marketing this kind of genius. They dropped that, and then they, like Beardo said, they've been dropping nothing but content for Mario Kart. They're showing you the games. They're going to keep doing it because everybody's going, oh my God, it looks so much fun. I got to get this day one. I got to be now. Nope. Nintendo's smart enough to know that they're getting hate online, but if they keep pushing this out, the people that aren't online enough to know that they're in trouble will get it because they don't know any better.
Kata?
I would say yes and no. Like, it will hurt, like, in a long run, like Johnny said. It will sell out eventually, like when it comes out, but I don't think it's going to sustain that for a long time. I just don't see it.
It all depends on the market and what games do afterwards.
Well, listen, the tariffs are going to play a part into this. By the way, I got Savvy's answer. Savvy says it may or may not hurt it.
May or may not.
I do have a question for you guys. I have a question, and I want to know your guys' answers. Nintendo set the standard for right now for games going forward with their $80 for Mario Kart. If Grand Theft Auto 6 were to have come out before the Switch 2 announcement, before Mario Kart, if Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar said $100, and then the next year Nintendo says Mario Kart is $80, do you think there'd be this much outrage for Nintendo?
It would be a different conversation.
Bingo.
I think they would have been. I would think they would have been called out for trying to follow after Rockstar, but no,
not to
exactly.
It wouldn't be to the same degree.
And that's my point. That's my point.
What point?
So the price is justified, Beardo.
What's your point?
That's my point. You have to take things into perspective. Nintendo was the first one. They were the first one,
and that's what that was their mistake.
And that's where the outrage is, because they were the first one. They set the standard. Mario Kart World. Hold on, Mario Kart World, $80. There's the outrage. Imagine if they didn't do that, Switch 2 doesn't come out for the next couple of years. Rockstar, Grand Theft Auto 6, $100. They'll get the heat. A few years later, Mario Kart World comes out, $80. Nobody really blinks an eye at Nintendo doing $80 because there was already a higher price game before it that set the standard. That's my point.
Although I get your point and that makes sense, I think that is exactly why people are drawing a line in the sand, because they realize if we're okay with this and we all just buy up these games regularly, the whole industry is going in this direction fast.
Yep. Are we already there though? I mean, people are paying $80 for packs and shit.
They're not there because that's the thing. They're doing it like by manipulating you with DLC and all this other stuff. They're packaging it with things. They haven't just straight up said this game at launch with nothing else on it is this price. That is the difference. And when they start doing that, they're not going to get rid of the DLCs. They're not going to get rid of the microtransactions. Yeah,
it's just going to be on top of it.
It's just going to be on top of what they already are offering. But the thing is, too, the flames that Nintendo are going to get for being the first one to step out, EA has been doing this for years. They've toyed with it all the time. They've admitted that they toy with it. They'd be like, "Oh, what if Madden was like this much every year?" And then they get their asses kicked in people voting or screaming at them and all the dissatisfaction online. And then they pull it back and go, "Well, we were never going to do that. It was just a thought experiment." Somebody eventually is going to pull the trigger on this, but they're going to try to pull the trigger on something that seems like it is a must-have, can't miss out on game, like Grand Theft Auto 6 or like Mario Kart, one of the best-selling games of all time.
Well,
they have to package it that way.
Madden and Call of Duty are $70 every single year because people still buy it. So why would they lower it? They would need to take a significant hurt to their wallets for them to drop the cost. But people are paying $70 every year. Billions of people are buying Call of Duty every year
say
at
billions.
70.
Billions.
He said
Billions.
billions.
Billions of people are buying fucking Call of Duty. Millions.
You know
They
what I
make
mean?
Jeremy,
You know what
they
I
make
mean?
a quadrillion dollars
You know-
every
you-
game that comes
You,
out.
you know what I mean?
India.
You know what I mean?
I know.
There's like 2 billion
You know
people
what I
on
mean?
YouTube. Every single one of them buy Call of Duty.
You know what I mean? There's zero reason for them to lower the cost because millions of people, hundreds of millions of people are buying Call of Duty for $70 every year. So there's no reason to. Shout
You
out.
guys know how much a daily ticket is to Disney and Universal? If you walked up to Disney or Universal right now, single day, one ticket for an adult, guess how much?
150, 200?
150, yeah, 175
Yes.
bucks.
About
something like that.
$100.
That's just to get into the fucking park.
That's just to get in.
A counter argument, Jeremy. That's why I haven't been in years. Like,
The counter
that's why a
argument
lot of
is,
people
Johnny,
stop going.
they can't keep people out of the fucking parks. They're
That's
fucking
fair.
always packed.
Sure.
Always.
Yeah,
it's
but
insane.
Johnny, there's going to come a time when your little one is about 4, 5, or 6, and they're going to be begging you for you to take them to Disneyland and Universal and everything, and you're going to have to do
We're
it.
going to
Just tell
Universal.
them to
We ain't
shut
going
up.
to Disneyland. We're going
Yeah.
to Universal.
Or you say,
That's
no,
an
that's too
entirely
expensive.
different
We'll go somewhere
atmosphere,
else.
too.
Go mow some lawns.
Yeah.
It is, but it's also
Just go to the carnival.
Like to take a family.
Yeah, go to the fair.
To take a family.
just go to the fair.
No, but my point being is that if you follow this stuff every year, because Disney usually sets the standard for the prices, and then Universal would follow. Now this is kind of historically because Disney's been the kind of the industry king, which they're losing a lot of that clout now. But I remember when Disney crossed the $100 mark, and that outrage over these prices. And I know this is kind of foreign to a lot of the people maybe that are watching this. Theme park people are fucking crazy, okay? They're fucking
Weirdos.
psychos,
Yeah.
All right, they're a bunch of fucking freaks. All right, they are.
Look at Jay.
Yeah,
I was just about to say it.
Love you, Jay.
theme park people are fucking crazy, okay? Their entire
Jay,
identity
Krista.
is this. They're crazy. But the online reaction to these price hikes makes this thing look like child's play.